Hi guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. This is episode number 17 of the prep series Dream Big. We are 3 weeks out from show this time. Well, today's Sunday. I'm filming Sunday, so 3 weeks out today. What I thought I'd do in today's video is kind of just give you like a rundown of my training from the last few months of prep, what I'm training at the moment, how I'm training at the moment, and what is to come from training in the next 3 weeks in the last stages of prep. And I thought I'd do this kind of like training montage of just a few movements that I've had saved on my phone from over. I think it's all from last week because I post every day on socials, so I've got a lot of content. So these are just like mini clips of sets from this week and I think last week's training, just little sets and stuff. So yeah, I thought I'd talk about what I was doing from the start of prep. Basically, I think my goal for myself in terms of training was kind of to leave my off season. Obviously, I'm logging all my lifts that I do, reps, sets, and keeping accounts of them through a logbook. My goal for prep was to hold on to those numbers for as long as possible, which I believe I have done a very good job of doing. Because at the moment now, being 3 weeks out, I'm still doing probably 80 to 90% of my off-season numbers still. So I've held my numbers throughout the whole of prep, and being able to match reps and just focus on getting better at execution. That's how I kind of worked in the progression aspect of it in terms of training, because obviously when you go into prep there's well, there's not a lower chance, but the kind of is a lower chance of being able to progress through load because food drops, output goes up, and we kind of need to find progression from other aspects in terms of like condition, and things like that outside of training. So for me, training has been the first love that I had for bodybuilding. It's always been my training, and I'm very, very used to training heavy, hard, balls to the wall, going to failure on every working set, that kind of training. So it's something that I wanted to keep a kind of progression on, which is why I stuck to the goal of trying to hold my numbers for as long as possible. Which I think I have done, being 3 weeks out now and still, like I said, holding on to 80 to 90% of my off-season numbers. And I think this is where the turning point happens, as we go deeper into prep now. With the last few weeks, we had a food drop, I think last week, quite a significant food drop where my carbs went down to 300 gram on training day and 230 gram on rest day, which is a big drop for me, considering in the off season my carbohydrates were around 7 to 900, even on some days 1,000 gram of carbs. So it's quite a big difference, and I've definitely felt it, but I think I've dealt with it quite well in terms of, like I said, holding on to numbers and keeping strength as high as possible, and in a good place. But like I said, it comes to a place now where we're at these last stages in prep where things get a bit more serious. The body gets a bit more sensitive and fragile, so we need to look after it. And I've got to take the wise decision, which is very hard for me to do because I'm stubborn when it comes to training. And I really should have backed off a bit a few weeks ago, which I think I have done to some extent, but there's always that thing in my mind when it comes to training. Like you can see here on this leg press, probably pushing a bit too hard. I think this was last week, so 4 weeks out. Especially when I don't really know, because this is my first prep, I don't really know how my body's going to adjust to these calories and whether it's going to be able to withstand this type of training under this type of food. So I think I need to just step back, remove myself from my logbook, as we're going in now to 3 weeks out, starting pretty much tomorrow, with kind of a new training or a new view to training. So yeah, that's kind of how the last few months have gone in terms of training, just trying to hold on to numbers, trying to stick to that, and pretty much hitting the same sets week in, week out, and trying not to drop the load too much, because how I see it is, this is probably, this is my opinion on it, but to some extent, what builds the muscle is going to basically hold on to it. So if I'm not doing those type of loads, once I start to take calories off, I think there's more of a chance of um, there's less of a chance of me holding on to 100% of my muscle that I had gained in the off season. So I wanted to keep load fairly heavy, which I have been able to do. So yeah, that's kind of how training has gone in the last few months. Training last week, so being 4 weeks out, I did kind of back off a bit from legs. So on plate loaded stuff, I took a plate off. On pin loaded stuff, I just brought the peg down or up to like 2 bars, and kind of went off that and just went for a bit more reps. That was fairly good. I saw my legs come through a bit more in terms of condition, because I held on to a bit of information, I think, the weeks prior to that, because I was training legs probably a bit too hard. Still getting sore, still getting DOMs, which lasted, 2 to 3 days and stuff like that. So I've changed that up a bit last week. And now going into this week, I am going to change training up a bit more, just because output's gone up again. Output at the moment is 3 times a week after post training. I'm doing now 40 minutes of cardio on the treadmill, and then my 2 rest days I'm doing 50 minutes of cardio on the treadmill. Steps are at 15,000 daily. That doesn't include cardio, and that's kind of my output. So since that's going up, food's going down, I need to adjust training, which I'm going to do. So basically in my logbook, I'm just going to write out my session, write down the rep scheme, and not write down any numbers that I need to hit, because it's just not necessary for me right now. I just need to go on basically how I feel that day. If I'm more fatigued, I'm gonna just take it and just back off a bit from load and just go for pump, because that's really what we've been doing. That's what I did last week, really, was just chasing a pump, stimulating the muscle instead of damaging it, and not wanting to break down the muscle, because we're not going to grow in this type of phase. We're just looking for condition and getting the body prepped for show pretty much now, is these last few weeks. Just getting my body ready to showcase on stage. So final tweaks being put into place, and training's one of them. So like I said, just writing down my sets, the rep schemes and sets wise, and just ticking off. I'm not going to look at load too much. I'm just going to go on feel. And over the years, I picked up obviously what I can do on certain movements, so that's not a problem. I can just go off instinct and just do that. But I'm not going to focus on load at all. I'm just going to focus on stimulating the muscle, getting some serious contractions, making sure form's on point, and that's it. Get in, get out. Hopefully, bring down my session time by a bit as well, which I kind of did over the last few weeks, just by taking a bit less time in rest periods. And yeah, we're coming to the end of the video now, so I'm going to wrap up. But that's what's going to happen over the next week, and the 3 weeks working up to the show. It's just taking training a bit less intense, taking a step back, working on a bit more form, not tugging on weight, and not just throwing it from A to B. So that's what I'm going to be doing. 3 weeks out from today. Very much looking forward to these next few weeks running up to show. It's getting a bit more real. I'm getting a few more periods in the day where I'm getting butterflies just thinking about standing on stage and showcasing what we've been working on through the off season into prep. So very much looking forward to it. As always, thank you for following along. Thank you for following this prep series, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing another one. But we've got about 2 or 3 more videos to come for the prep series, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's what's going on. Little update from me. Looking forward to another week of training and cardio. and just ticking the daily boxes. So we'll see you next week, guys. Thank you.